Going to the Wester Hotline to talk with Chris Brown as we do on Fridays. Mr. Brown, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are we doing?
Good. I was thinking, how are you feeling about this? You know, like these games are legacy moments, and I mean, for you, this is big. Going to Arrowhead, AFC Championship game. You know, I wonder how you're kind of feeling in this moment.
Yeah, I am eerily calm. I don't know why. I was the same way last week. I can't explain it. When I was more on the written side of things at BuffaloBills.com, I would get nervous for these games and kind of get all pent up. And I don't know why. I'm just not in the broadcast booth now. It's very strange to me. I don't feel detached at all. I feel as kind of close to the team as ever. But for some reason, there's this eerie calm that has kind of come over me. And in a weird way, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because the players are much the same way.
It's kind of interesting. As Joe and I have been talking about it this morning, I kind of get the feeling that there are two stories here. One is, of course, beating the Chiefs, which is a nemesis, and the other is going to the Super Bowl, and they are obviously connected here, but it almost feels like two different accomplishments that are kind of wrapped up into one.
Right. And there's a narrative here where I think you convince a lot of people that if the Bills were going to go to the Super Bowl, it was going to happen this way. They had to beat the Ravens and the Chiefs in the same postseason. So I don't know. Maybe there's some divine intervention here that this is the path that they had to travel to finally get there. They did have that opportunity, as we know, 5 years ago, where they beat the Ravens and had a chance to beat the Chiefs. But I think they're better equipped to finish the job this time around than they were 5 years ago when they were really in their infancy as a Super Bowl contender.
How much of that's the defense for you? Like, I'm kind of finding myself also kind of more calm and collected than last week. And I feel like last week for me it was, how are they going to stop the Ravens? And the Chiefs are still a threat. I'm not bypassing them at all on that front, but these playoff numbers, Chris, like it's two meetings against the Chiefs when they have Tyreek Hill and they're a completely different offense. And then I don't want to completely throw out last year, but I maybe I'm prone to because I just can't get past how few bodies they had for that game.
Right. They are much healthier this year. And I was trying to discern, as I'm pouring over the notes and all the statistics, the Chiefs play a very efficient brand of offense because they don't have any other choice. They have to play that way with Mahomes at the controls because he is the most reliable and consistent thing that they have. And I think the Bills have proven this year that, yes, playing an efficient style is very beneficial for them, but there are many other things they can turn to if they have to win a different way. And I think that's what will ultimately lift this team over the Chiefs this week.
Yeah, we're waiting for, does Josh Allen need to put on the cape, right? Like the Superman Clark Kent. I saw ESPN talking about this and whether or not he'll have to do that. Chris, in these moments against the Chiefs, Allen has been very good. I don't feel like he's had a bad game against the Chiefs in quite some time. And I wonder if you think there's any one target that this week will be his favorite target or most reliable target. I know it's about spreading the ball around, but does anyone jump out at you as a potential X-factor game breaker? I asked Sal the same question. If there's any one player that'll be Allen's right-hand man in this matchup.
Yeah, I don't know why I've felt this way. Sometimes I just have these weird passing thoughts through the course of the week. And the guy that's been sticking in my head has been Amari Cooper. I don't know why that is. But I just see, a veteran that's, been in playoff games before, played the Chiefs very early in his career twice a year, has had some monster games against them. I don't know why, but he's the guy that's sticking in my head, which kind of sounds ridiculous because there have been games where he hasn't even had a target. But I don't know. It's just wacky. I could be completely off my rocker, but he's the name that just keeps passing through my brain this week.
Well, I think a lot of that, Chris, like watching some back of the regular season meeting against the Chiefs, it looked very different than it did last week against the Ravens. Part of that was the Bills got off to very poor starts on first down. They would run, get a yard or two, run again, and they'd be in third and long, but then they would get it. And there were a lot of plays in that game where even when he wasn't wide open, Allen was testing the Chiefs down the field, and it was with Cooper a lot.
Right. And I just believe that Spagnuolo is going to have a plan for Khalil Shakir because he's been carrying the passing game through the first 2 weeks of the postseason. So I'm anticipating he's going to have a plan for him. Their best cover corner is their slot corner, Trent McDuffie. So I think that Josh will have to look elsewhere in the passing game. And I don't know why, but Amari keeps coming up in my head.
Chris Brown joining us on the Western Hotline ahead of Bills Chiefs. Defensively, it's a much, much different story this week for a lot of reasons. Number one, maybe, is that Baltimore is this elite running team, and Kansas City has not really run the ball exceedingly well this year at any point. They don't get explosive plays. Not to say they couldn't hit you for one, but the fear of the 85-yard run from Derrick Henry was real. And for Kansas City, they just don't get explosive runs. And I wonder what Bobby Babich and Sean McDermott will cook up in terms of trying to make sure they can, keep things buttoned up on the back end. Because I would expect Kansas City, if they're going to win this game, to try and do so in the pass game.
Right. And I think the most interesting thing is, Isaiah Pacheco in the divisional playoff last year had 97 yards, which is a playoff high for him against the Bills, and was a major problem. And so now you look at him, his snap count has gone down each of the last 5 games since he's been back. So clearly Kansas City thinks something is missing from his skill set and explosiveness and suddenness as well, to the point where they're just now leaning on Kareem Hunt, who is still a capable back. I don't think he should be dismissed at all, but it's not the same concern that an explosive 4.3, 840 Isaiah Pacheco would be. So I'm very curious to see how that playtime balance works out. But if you can effectively make them one-dimensional, now you can focus more on the pass game. And look, what is the recipe there? We'll have to see. It's been clear that the Bills, and the Chiefs for that matter, have not been effective enough with a front four pass rush. They've both had to blitz a good deal here through the course of the second half of the season to generate consistent pressure and to speed up quarterbacks. So what is the formula there? Where do you pick your spots? Can you get them in long down and distance to take advantage and use blitzes to get them off schedule or even better off the field?
How do you expect McDermott to be in this game? Whether that could be defensive scheme. It's weird. They don't really, you would think, need to have as many wrinkles as they would have against Baltimore from what they typically do, because what they typically do kind of, feels better for what Kansas City is. But you still probably would get some of those. And then with game management, Chris, like aggressiveness on fourth downs, if it's tied late, like is there a 2-point conversion decision, overtime stuff? How ready do you feel like McDermott is on that front for this game?
I think he's ready because he's kind of been there and done that with this same opponent. I want to believe that, he's a guy that practices what he preaches when he talks about daily self-improvement. When the players go away in the offseason, that guy, reviews the entire season and his player performance, but I know for a fact he also reviews his own. And so I think he is known as a guy that will painstakingly pore over every decision he makes in the previous season. So I'd like to think that he's got a memory bank that remembers a lot of those situations, and if there are some that he would handle differently, he will. But I think we all know he's been one of the more aggressive coaches in the league in this kind of a situation, fourth down I'm talking about. And to no one's surprise, the 4 teams that are among the 5 best on fourth down conversions are still alive right now. The only other team that was in that top 5 was Detroit, and they got bounced by the team that does it the best in Washington. So I expect him to be aggressive because this is it, man. There's no tomorrow. So I think he trusts his players enough to be aggressive, so I anticipate that he will be.
Parting thought on the NFC matchup?
Yeah, that one's tough for me because I was, far be it from me to paper shoot and say, well, if the Bills win, who'd you rather play? But I don't know if it's more difficult to play a quarterback who seemingly is unfazed by just about anything under the sun, or if it's more of a challenge to play a Philadelphia team that might be the biggest team in football. I had a chance to talk to Maurice Jones-Drew when we were out in L.A., and he basically said, standing on the sidelines when Philly went out there to play the Rams, he said it's the biggest football team he has ever seen in his life, like just from a pure size standpoint, and they are huge. So I don't know if you want any of that. You might take Washington and go after a rookie quarterback, knowing Sean McDermott's history against them. Got to get by the Chiefs first, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris Brown on the Western Hotline. Chris, thanks again, and have a great call, have a great trip, and we'll see you on the other side.
Enjoy the game, guys, and pop one back if it settles the nerves.
All right. I might need a few.
That's a good idea.
I might need the old Spencer Brown is what I'm going to need to settle these nerves. Chris Brown on the Western Hotline.